All right, Canty, what was your reaction to what Mr. Mara had to say there about Eli?
I was shaking my head. I mean, to me, this is...
You like that man, too, now.
I have the utmost respect for John Mara, for his family, and how they handled the business of the New York Football Giants. But this is missing the forest through the trees.
And real quick, I think most of our audience knows this, but maybe not. Canty, did you win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I won a Super Bowl with the New York Giants.
And who was the quarterback?
46. And Eli Manning was the quarterback.
Okay, so you're a person that has real loyalty to the organization, the owner, and to the quarterback.
But that doesn't stop me from being objective about talking about him. And the reality is that Eli Manning is not the same quarterback that won those 2 Super Bowls over a decade ago. He's not. He's a different Eli Manning, and we've really had to deal with that the last 5 years, and you see that this offense has struggled. They've been inconsistent. Now, the team has done everything that they can to try to support him. I mean, they had Odell Beckham Jr. They elevated Ben McAdoo from coordinator to the head coach because they wanted to maintain the continuity of that offense. 2 years ago, they drafted Saquon Barkley with the 2nd overall pick. They gave Nate Solder a boatload of money in free agency. They drafted Will Hernandez. I mean, they've done everything that they can to try to support Eli Manning, and it just has not worked out. The last 2 years, they got a grand total of 8 wins. 8-24 just ain't going to get it done. By any metric, by any standard, it's not good enough. And so when you start evaluating the different reasons why the Giants are losing, you have to also consider the possibility that maybe the quarterback just isn't good enough to put this team in position to consistently compete.
Cris, you said something earlier that I want to revisit. The Giants have had a losing record, what, 5 of the last 6 years?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any team in the league that have had a losing record 5 of the last 6 years with the quarterback being healthy the entirety of the time would not be questioning if they need to make a quarterback change?
No.
The answer is no.
No.
The answer is without...
Tom Brady went to 3 straight Super Bowls, and Bill Belichick said, I'll give you a little bump this year.
Right?
Next year, no guarantee.
Not so much.
Absolutely. And so, obviously, the Giants are showing an irrational level of loyalty to Eli Manning. Now, with that said, I understand what John Mara is saying. It's a fantasy land, but it is accurate. The best-case scenario is that Daniel Jones never plays.
We talked about it yesterday.
The Giants are 12-4 because they all those draft picks that seem to be maybe, except for Saquon, underperforming, the free agent signings like Solder that underperformed, they all hit this year. Just took them an extra year to bloom, and this defense, which was a train wreck last year, they have 2 first-round picks on defense. Those guys hit instantly, all these things. That is the best-case scenario. But if that is also the least likely of all the possible Giant scenarios, you then have to ask yourself the following. What is the next best-case scenario? Because I would argue it is not to be in the hunt. Because if this Giants team, with a month left in the season, is 6-6, guess what? That will mean Eli's played the whole year, and that will probably mean he's going to play the rest of the year. Because at 6-6, you know what you are? A month away from 10 wins in the playoffs. And teams don't punt on that. So what is best for the Giants long-term is for the beginning of this year to go poorly, is for Daniel Jones to get as many live reps as possible, but they don't even want to entertain that possibility, except for, of course, the day of the draft, when they fully entertain that possibility by drafting this kid 6th overall. The Giants, to me, are trying to live in both lanes. We're worried about the future. That's why we're getting rid of Beckham for draft picks. That's why we're drafting the quarterback. That's why we're trading Olivier Vernon. We're moving on from Landon Collins, not paying him. And live in the present, which is our year 16 quarterback who hasn't had a good year, a really good year in almost a decade. He's this close to turning it around.
Well, of course, the Giants don't want to make that change because once the change is made, that's it for Eli. Once you put Daniel Jones in, they love this guy. I mean, he's like their ride or die. They're going to take Eli as far as possible.
Absolutely.
And at one point, at any point in the season, they make that change, it's going to be very hard for them to go backwards, and that would be the end of the Eli Manning era.
Well, no, you can't go backwards. Once you make the change, Daniel Jones is your guy. The future starts now. But to me, this entire season has to be about the development of Daniel Jones. I said it before and I said it again. But to Nick's point, it feels like the Giants are half pregnant. It's almost like they're building for the future, but they want to win in the present with Eli Manning. The reality is this is the last year of Eli Manning being under contract. I don't want to go into 2020 without Daniel Jones taking a meaningful snap in the season. Now, Nick, you outlined the timeline saying that Week 7 matchup at home against Arizona would be a good time because you got a little over a week because you played the Thursday night before up in New England. I think that makes a little sense. But if the Giants are 500, That's not going to happen.
They're not going to do it.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to pull the plug on Eli Manning. They're going to give him every opportunity to be successful. But I think the Giants have to think about the history and the development of Eli Manning. When he was a rookie, they decided to bench Kurt Warner at 5-4 when they were very much in the thick of things for the playoff race, and they started Eli Manning the last 7 games of that season. CC, do you remember what Eli Manning's record was as a starting quarterback?
Was it 0-7?
He was 1-6, and the one game that he won was the regular season finale.
0-6.
So, I mean, listen, it's invaluable getting a rookie quarterback experience in the regular season because you're going to allow him the opportunity to work on some things in his first full offseason as a pro. I think the Giants have to support Daniel Jones in every regard, and that's a big part of it, getting an opportunity to get some game reps.
The problem with the Mara family, and Jenna and I have been doing this long enough to have covered them, good Eli, in those Super Bowls, and you were there. The only thing that's the same about the Giants is the ownership. I remember those defenses. I remember sitting down with a defensive tackle before the game against the undefeated Patriots. I asked him one question. Man, what's going to happen? He said, I don't know if we're going to win. But Tom Brady, we're going to check his oil. They said a few things to us. The last game of the regular season, they didn't think we was going to ever see each other in life. And he said, this is a matter of respect. They disrespected me, and we getting ready to take the pain to them. There are no aspects of this football team that are similar to those two teams. And guess what? The first month of the season, let's go with Benny Fowler and Cody Lattimore. That might be your starting wide receivers. Yeah. So this is not set up for Eli as much as they'd like this to be his swan song. Let him go off into the sunset. But they drafted the quarterback. They have to play the quarterback this year because that roster, that offensive line, everyone is going to feast on Barkley. He's the only bright spot on that team. Eli Manning, it's over with. Like, it's over with. As much as we love Eli, oh, shucks, oh, Eli, like we love Eli, it's over with. No team in this league would go 5 of 6 losing seasons and wouldn't be trying to move on from their quarterback or had moved on from their quarterback. Eli's been in a special situation. The last 3 years, they should have done something to build it. We shouldn't even be in this spot at this point, Canty.
No, you're right. And real quick, to your point, I mean, this is not a more talented team than the group that they marched out there in 2018 when they won a grand total of 5 wins. They didn't get better by trading OV and letting Landon Collins walk out of the door, trading Snacks Harrison, trading Odell Beckham Jr. They are not a more talented team. So I don't understand why they think the results of this season would be significantly better than what they had the last 2 years.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.